Hey guys, John V here from PhoneArena. You're watching our in-depth video review of the LG Intuition for Verizon Wireless. It's available right now. You can pick it up for $200 on contract. And it's very similar in premise to the Samsung Galaxy Note, where it's a hybrid type smartphone, a phablet, tab phone, whatever you want to call it. It features a 5-inch IPS LCD panel and comes also with a capacitive stylus that LG refers to as Rubberdium, so you could use it to jot down notes or draw. But what makes it noticeably different from the Galaxy Note is the 4:3 aspect ratio of its display. Well folks, there's no hiding it, the LG Intuition is just one ginormous smartphone, the widest device out there, so as far as one-handed operation, it's nearly impossible just because you could tell here, very difficult to extend our thumb to reach all four corners of the display, so it's more geared for two-handed operation. Its choice materials and build construction are decent, all plastic body, it has a nice clean finish in the rear. For a device this large, it's nice to see that it's still somewhat streamlined, but it'll really test out your pockets when you put it in there. But that's the beauty about this phone. Even though it's not a compelling design, it's just the size that really captures the attention of people. And honestly, if you want to start a conversation with random people, this is the device that you want to hold on to. Just because you put it down on a table or something, it's definitely going to get noticed. And more often than none, you're probably going to be asked if it is a smartphone or not. Part of the reason why this handset's so darn large is because of the 5-inch IPS LCD panel it's packing along. It features a resolution of 1024 by 768 pixels, so it's not necessarily the highest resolution display out there, but it's more than ample enough to make out fine details like the text here. Even in the web browser, it's great just because it makes sense for reading. The 4:3 aspect ratio is definitely enjoyable, but when it comes to watching videos though, not so much, just because it doesn't take advantage of the added real estate. You still see some black bars on the top and bottom, and seeing that it is an IPS LCD panel, we love its natural color production, very accurate, and also has nice brightness output, so it's still visible outdoors, though its view angle is a little bit distorted at the extreme sides, but overall it's nice looking but not spectacular. Now, even though this is an Android 4.0 ice cream sandwich device, it still features the usual set of capacitive Android buttons. Luckily though, they're spaced far away from another to reduce any accidental presses. The left edge of the smartphone might be bare, but on the right we find its volume controls. They're separated, they're a little bit on the flat side, but luckily they have a decent response. Up top, we find the rest of the buttons and ports. You have the 3.5mm headset jack, the noise cancellation microphone. You have the micro USB port hidden behind the sliding door here for charging data connectivity. You also get video out with the aid of an MHL adapter. It's just nice that the door slides away like that, so no dirt and debris gets inside. You have the dedicated power button. Again, flat looks, but has a good response, and we definitely like the nice glow there. And this last button right here actually launches the LG Memo application, so it takes a screenshot of whatever you're doing, and from there you could use the stylus, the capacitive stylus, the Rubberdium, to actually draw on it, doodle, whatever you want, and save it. And finally, you have the 8-megapixel autofocus camera with LED flash in the rear. It has the ability to shoot 1080p videos, 2 notches there for its internal speaker, and on the side right here, behind this plastic flap, is the micro SIM slot. There's no access to its internal battery. It also features 32 gigabytes of internal storage. One thing that blows our mind with the LG Intuition is that there's no slot to tuck away the LG Rubberdium in, so chances are you're gonna misplace it and you're gonna end up looking for it. It'd been just nice if they incorporate a slot into the device itself. But as far as the usage of the Rubberdium and the LG Notebook application, it's decent for basic things, but it's still far from the features that are found with the S Pen stylus on the Samsung Galaxy Note. For starters, if you're gonna be writing something down, you can't have your palm rested on there, just because it won't, because it's already recognizing your hand on the display itself, so that's unfortunate. And on top of that, there's no pressure sensitivity, so in order to change the pressure, the thickness of the pen, you got to actually manually change it in the settings here. You could modify things like the pen type, the opacity, the color, and stuff like that, but again, you don't have that same control that you find with Samsung's offering. It's nice for drawing, it's nice for jotting down notes, but it's not quite as flexible as what's found on Samsung's offering. Out of the box, the handset's running Android 4.0 Ice Cream Sandwich with LG's latest Optimus skin running on top of it. So here is the lock screen. It's just nice that you have access to these quick applications directly from the lock screen. But as a whole, it's not quite as comprehensive compared to its rivals like the Samsung TouchWiz Nature UX or HTC Sense UI. Still though, you have all the rich personalization aspects that you come to appreciate. For example, you can modify the theme here. You have some nice new widgets like so. You have this cool 3D-like effect in play, and seeing that has a 4:3 aspect ratio, you're able to dock more icons at the bottom here, which you can change as well. And with the notifications panel, it's nice having access to these connectivity features directly from there. And with the app panel laid out in your traditional grid-like view, but seeing it has a larger display, you can actually change it so it shows smaller icons, so it fits more icons directly in one spot. Now, some people out there might be disappointed to find that the LG Tuition is running a dual-core 1.5 GHz Qualcomm Snapdragon S3 processor with 1 GB RAM, whereas other newer high-end devices out there are packing the newer S4 processor. But nevertheless, when it comes down to real-world usage and performance, we're quite content with it. You can tell with the live wallpaper, it's still moving exceptionally quick and fluid. And the other basic tasks, opening up applications, pinch gestures, zooming, stuff like that, it's still relatively quick in that area. And finally, when it comes to benchmark scores, it might not produce the best numbers out there, but again, it all comes down to just the real-world performance. Sadly, even though it's packing a larger display with a 4:3 aspect ratio, not all of the core organizer apps have been enhanced to make use of the added real estate. For example, the alarm clock, the calculator, they haven't been changed whatsoever. But for things like the calendar, you kind of get the hint of the two-panel interface, which is nice. But with the email application, it's just a single column view, nothing different from any other Android smartphone. As far as third-party applications are concerned, though, there's an option in the display settings. You could change the aspect ratio so it's corrected for the specific apps, so it gets stretched out and makes use of the added real estate. With two-handed operation, typing out messages is not a problem whatsoever thanks to its spacious layout, its responsiveness, and the fact that you have some numbers and punctuation available to us directly from the main layout, so it's nice and quick. But with one-handed operation, it can be a little bit difficult, but luckily LG does accommodate for that. You can just do these quick swipe gestures there, and you can get either a left-handed keyboard, so it's very easy to use it with one hand, or oppositely, you could swipe the other way, and you got the right-handed keyboard, which is nice. It's worth noting, even though it has a capacitive stylus, there is no handwriting recognition available with it. If there's one area where its 4:3 aspect ratio proves its worth, it has to be the web browsing experience, just because with the 4:3 aspect ratio, it seems very optimal for viewing websites here. In addition to its 4G LTE connectivity, which provides for some super fast data speeds, we definitely like the experience here. You could tell with pinch gestures, kinetic scrolling, more than silky smooth, so no complaints in that area. And overall, it's definitely a great experience. Well, there's nothing particularly special with the music player found on the LG Intuition. It's very generic, conventional, and just like anything else out there in the market. It breaks it down to songs, albums, artists, and as far as when you're playing a song, it displays your album cover and track information. With the audio quality for this internal speaker, it tends to sound rather screechy at the loudest volume setting, but it's worth noting that it features Dolby Mobile audio support with the 3.5mm headset jack. On one hand, the handset's 4:3 aspect ratio makes sense for things like web browsing and even reading books, but not so for watching videos. It does support a variety of different codecs like DivX, MPEG-4, H.264, and even XVID, like the one we have here, which is encoded in DivX 1920 by 1080 resolution, moving exceptionally fast, fluid, nice, accurate-looking colors. So it's a great experience, aside from the fact that you see the black bars on the top and bottom. There's also this other feature where you can pause the video by simply flipping the handset over, but it just doesn't seem practical. So here's the camera UI. It has a modest set of features. For example, you could change it to panoramic, continuous shot there, and there's some manual controls, brightness, focus modes, scene modes, ISO, white balance, color effects, so a decent amount here. And there's also another neat feature that some people will appreciate when you're taking self-portraits, stuff like that. Instead of trying to fiddle around, trying to press the on-screen shutter key there, you could simply just say cheese, and automatically will snap the shot. As for the quality produced by its 8-megapixel camera, they're actually disappointing just because details are lacking. It has a cooler color production, so it has a noticeable bluish tinge going on to it. It doesn't handle dynamic range that well, so for brightly lit areas, tends to overexpose them. And in low lighting conditions, there's just a lot of graininess that's going on. And finally, the LED flash, it doesn't kick on prior to taking a shot, so chances are they come out a little bit out of focus. At the same time, we're not too thrilled by its 1080p video recording. First of all, it suffers from a lot of over-sharpening where the details are kind of muddy looking. There's also a heavy presence of artifacting going on when you're panning very quickly. And exposure is just too sensitive. It goes in and out very quickly. And finally, the audio recording, there's just a little bit of distortion going on with it. When it comes to making phone calls with the LG Intuition, it's more than usable. With the earpiece, it produces some average volume tones, but with voices, there's a hint of crackling going on with them, but still more than audible. Our callers fared better on their end of the line as they're greeted with natural and distinct voices, and when switched to using the speakerphone, it tends to have some muffling going on with it. During our time using the LG Intuition, we didn't drop any phone calls, but even better is the fact that it's able to maintain a 4G LTE connection even indoors, just because with other handsets we tend to notice them dropping down to 3G. However, battery life is still a concern with the handset. Even with its 2080 mAh battery, we're able to get approximately at the most 9 hours of usage with 4G LTE connectivity, so you're probably going to still want to charge it as often as you can. So if there's one thing we can agree about the LG Intuition, is that it makes for a great conversational piece with random strangers. You can put it down on the table, and it's almost guaranteed you're going to get questions whether or not it's going to be that is a smartphone you're using, just because of its sheer size. But beyond that, there's nothing really too compelling about this handset, just because it has the Rubberdium pen, which is nice for jotting down notes and drawing stuff, but still pales in comparison to the extensive features found with the S Pen stylus on the Samsung Galaxy Note. If you're a Verizon customer, this is obviously as close as you could get to experiencing the same thing on the Galaxy Note, but if you're open to switching to carriers, you could take a look at T-Mobile or AT&T, who happen to offer the handset already for quite some time. So if you'd like to learn more about the LG Intuition, guys, you could check out our website, PhoneArena.com. This is John V. As always, thanks for watching.